Good evening. My name is David Moore. I'm the police chief in Janesville. I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2019 Janesville Police Department Awards ceremony. Before we get started, I have a number of honored guests with us here today. City Manager Mark Freitag, Sheriff Troy Knutson. We have Police and Fire Commission member Dwayne Severson, City Council member Doug Markline. Doug, there he is. And we have chaplains John Benson, Jack Fish, and Tim Hartley are with us. We have Lonnie Brigham, who is with our African American Liaison Committee. Lonnie's back here. We have Kathy Sukus, who is in charge of our 911 center, is with us. And we have a number of retirees. Deputy Chief Steve Kopp, retired. Scott Wassmiller is with us here today. Detective Craig Fritz is here. And retired Deputy Chief Jimmy Holford is here with us as well. So I hope I haven't missed anybody. My apologies if I did. Today, again, we are reminded of the danger that our profession holds and the challenges that our officers have when they go out and hit the street every day. And with that thought in mind, I'd like a moment of silence for McHenry Deputy Jake Keltner. He lost his life in the line of duty today, working with the U.S. Marshals Service down in Rockford, taking into custody a wanted felon. Thank you. This evening is a night of reflection of our duties and the appreciation of our employees and citizens. It's an opportunity to honor the few of the many dedicated employees of the Janesville Police Department and members of our community. I'd like you to think for a moment about the policing profession. We take young men and women fresh out of college. They attend a police academy for a few months. And then we bring them back to our police department and we send them out into our communities to protect us. We put them out there in the middle of the night, all alone, and we send them to the most difficult matters that our communities have to offer, the most dangerous matters that our communities have to offer. And when those officers arrive on scene, they often know less than anybody else that's there. Yet everybody looks to those officers to take decisive action immediately. And sometimes those decisions are life and death decisions. And then we expect perfection. And the most remarkable chapter of this story is almost always these officers deliver perfection. The employees you will meet here tonight deliver that perfection. This evening, the department will also honor citizens and businesses that have supported the police department and the community. We learned long ago that we can't go it alone. We need our community partners to truly allow our communities to be safe. Every year, officers of the Janesville Police Department respond to tens of thousands of calls for service, traffic stops, citizen contacts, and other duties. And frequently, citizens of our community assist the officers with their responsibilities in a variety of ways. This year, 9 citizens were selected for the Citizen Award, and 2 businesses were selected for the Business Awards that support the mission of the police department and consequently serve the community. These awards and others were selected by the Accommodation Committee. This committee reviews the activities throughout the year and determines the awards before you here today. In the next few minutes, you will hear about heroics, assistance of our victims, concern for community, and compassion. These examples are the type of dedication and duty we see with our staff every day, every month, and all year long. Now I'll have the officers that recommended the acknowledgement to the awards committee present the awards. But first I want to tell you a little story. A few years ago I was sitting down here with Officer Foster, and he had to get up and give a 2-minute speech to present the award. And he leaned over to me and he says, "Chief, I'd rather go on a man with a gun call than have to speak up here for the next 2 minutes." And he's not the only one that's told me that. So. Sergeant Sukus will now provide us with the first Citizen Award.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. The first group of awards being presented are the Law Enforcement Service Award for Citizens. In each case, the award winner was nominated by a member of the police department for contributions that went above and beyond what is normally expected of citizens. Their actions lent themselves to assist us in fulfilling the missions of the Janesville Police Department. It's my pleasure to present the first award to Miss Diane Ratzlaff, so she could come forward, please. Come over here, Brother Chief. One of my duties at the police department is being the supervisor of the K-9 unit. Most K-9 units, including ours, operate with the use of donated monies to help pay for food, training, and equipment. Diane is one of our donors. Like clockwork, every year we receive a generous check from her. Diane could easily use this money for her own retirement, paying bills, or buying something for herself. But instead, she thinks and cares for our dogs. When I call her to let her know that we received the check, she always says, "I wish I could give more." We present this award to you tonight because of your donation and commitment to the K-9 unit, and it is very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you, Diane. Our next presenter is Police Chaplain John Benson.
A privilege for me this evening to invite Father Earl Sias to come forward and receive a Citizen Award for law enforcement. His nomination actually came in from Officer Sean Yelk, one of the liaison officers with our chaplaincy program. Father Earl Sias began serving All Saints Anglican Catholic Church in Janesville's 4th Ward in 2016. In the 2.5 years that Father Earl has been serving as the priest and now the rector at All Saints Church, he's become a well-respected and appreciated member of the clergy here in Janesville as a whole. Serving in a congregation in Janesville's 4th Ward, Father Earl quickly recognized the great need that the families have living in that neighborhood around where his church is located. And he's taken the initiative to lead his congregation to provide after-school programs that create positive opportunities for children in Janesville's 4th Ward. Through Father Earl's efforts to solicit community support for these programs, they are offered to the participants free of charge. 2 of the programs that we highlight this evening that Father Earl has had a vision to create are the Academy Singers. This is a youth chorus that uses the All Saints Church facility for its rehearsals. And new this year, the Academy Athletes, which uses the gym at St. Patrick's School to offer athletic skill building again to children and youth in the 4th Ward free of charge. Father Earl has a heart for young people and their families and has overseen the development of these programs that are designed to educate and train young people so that they have the opportunity to develop into healthy, well-rounded citizens. These programs have also fostered solutions for current and future problems in the 4th Ward area and beyond by promoting an improved standard of well-being for those involved and are impacted by these programs. I consider it a great privilege to introduce Father Earl as a recipient of the Citizen Law Enforcement Service Award this evening. Our next presenter is Sergeant Wehmas.
John Mansur, would you please come forward? John Mansur and his family have always lived in the city of Janesville. What makes it John unique is that living in the city of Janesville, he never really spent time in the Fourth Ward neighborhood, and he knew the neighborhood didn't have the best reputation as other neighborhoods in the city. So what does John do? He moves into the Fourth Ward neighborhood. He stuck by the quote of, "Love your neighbor as yourself." He wanted to help make a positive change in the neighborhood. John is currently a member of the Janesville Police Department 4th Ward Neighborhood Action Team and goes above and beyond what is normally expected of a citizen. He volunteers his own time to plan, organize, and coordinate monthly meetings, which includes community events, committee reports, ongoing projects, and new ideas in the community. John leads a team with the mission statement and keeps the team focused on bringing people together and following through with plans to make the neighborhood a better place to live. He always looks for new ways to get other neighbors involved for the purpose of improving the standard of living. I have personally observed John's monthly meetings, and his passion and dedication is very evident. I have also personally witnessed the positive relationships built throughout the neighborhood, including law enforcement relations, because of his continued efforts. His commitment and dedication to the city of Janesville, the Janesville Police Department, and the community as a whole is remarkable. His actions and efforts don't go unnoticed and are greatly appreciated by the Janesville Police Department. Congratulations. I'll now welcome Sergeant Perkins to the stage.
Good evening. Is Carl Crawford and Zane Gonzales here? They could come forward. Didn't think I saw them walk in earlier. Anyway, we'll continue with what they did. We'd like to recognize Carl Crawford and Zane Gonzales for the Citizen Award. On July 7th, 2018, Officer Williams was investigating a domestic disturbance in the 2800 block of Holiday Drive. When Officer Williams arrived on scene, a suspect began walking into the residence with a child in a car seat. The suspect entered an apartment through a patio door to avoid apprehension. Officer Williams grabbed onto the suspect's arm and convinced him to set down the infant carrier. Officer Williams was able to move the suspect to the patio area where their struggle continued. While the struggle continued, Officer Williams was lying on top of the suspect and he attempted to kick his feet and pull his hands underneath him. Carl Crawford and Zane Gonzales were standing outside the apartment building and asked Officer Williams if they needed assistance. Zane Gonzales held down the suspect's legs while Carl Crawford grabbed onto the suspect's arm. While assisting Officer Williams, Mr. Crawford spoke with the subject to help calm him down. Mr. Crawford and Mr. Gonzales continued to assist Officer Williams until other officers arrived on scene. Due to their heroic behavior, the outcome was a direct impact of how this incident was handled safely and peacefully. Our next presenter will be Detective Kyle Austin.
Hello. I'll be presenting a Citizens Award to Michelle Banister. I didn't see Michelle come in, but is Michelle here? All right. So I received a message today from Michelle saying that she was ill and she didn't know she'd be able to make it today. During the afternoon of Halloween 2018, Michelle was running errands, driving westbound on Holiday Drive. As she was driving, she heard the sound of two pops and looked to the north and west, and when she did, she saw a couple of males standing in an apartment complex parking lot. One was retreating from the other and falling backwards. The other had his arm extended, had a handgun, and was actively shooting the other male. Michelle realized the danger of the situation and immediately decided to intervene. Michelle drove into the parking lot, stopped in the driveway of the parking lot, and blocked the driveway. She was just feet away from the suspect and victim. The suspect noticed her and immediately stopped his attack. The suspect ran to his vehicle, fled in his vehicle, driving through the parking lot and the yard of the apartment complex before he left. So Michelle immediately called 911 and then rendered aid to the victim. Michelle gave a complete description of the suspect, his vehicle, including an almost exact match of his license plate. She was also able to describe potential witnesses who exited the apartment building when they heard the disturbance and helped us identify those witnesses. Later, the shooter was apprehended and arrested, and the victim eventually recovered from his gunshot injuries. Michelle's actions had a positive bearing on the outcome of the incident. Michelle's intervention in the violent incident was done without regard to her own personal welfare and potentially saved the victim, who it should be noted was a complete stranger to Michelle. She did not know who the person was. In addition, Michelle's actions and ability to recall the details of a highly stressful incident were second to none and showed a high degree of intelligence. For these efforts, Michelle is receiving the Citizens Award. Our next presenter will be the reigning Officer of the Year, Officer Stephen Dick.
Good evening. I'll let you know I'm under strict orders from the chief. I got to keep this to 2 minutes because he knows I like to talk, so I'll do my best. If I could have Eric and Lisa come forward on behalf of Claire Mikkelson, and then Taylor Salmon and Sam Smith come up here. So tonight I get the pleasure of presenting a Citizen Award to those individuals I just listed. I'm also joined by SRO Foster and Principal of Craig High School, Dr. Allison Bion. In the fall of 2018, I approached Officer Foster and was looking to talk with his student leaders. Some of you might be aware that the police department and the Janesville Professional Police Association have been fundraising for a 4-year-old in our community, Isaac Johnson, who's battling neuroblastoma. We've been doing that for approximately 2 years, and I was kind of running out of ideas. So I decided to recruit our youth and see if they wanted to get involved. So almost immediately I can tell you that Claire, Taylor, and Sam started coming up with really great ideas, and within a day or two, Claire had a video made, sort of a superhero theme for Isaac, and they had already planned a penny war, dance, and then a fundraiser raffle. Through their efforts, they also inspired other students in the district at different schools. We had pizza parties with them afterward, and I can tell you that there was a 3rd grade girl at Wilson Elementary School that had brought in a $100 bill to donate to Isaac, that she told me she had done chores and it was tooth fairy money and everything else. So their impact has been great. They weren't done there. We started a t-shirt raffle and, not a t-shirt raffle, but a t-shirt sale. And then we had an event for Isaac at Craig High School on February 9th. The efforts of Craig High School and the other students of the district are noteworthy, but Claire, Taylor, and Sam stand out above all others. And it's made me think that sometimes in my profession that you hear people complain about our youth and say kids these days, and it's always in a negative way. They think they're kind of like the doom of the future, right? But I will tell you that these three have single-handedly changed my tune, and I'm very hopeful for the future. So I'll end by sharing this with you, and it's an old Native American proverb from the Cherokee Nation. It's a grandfather talking to his grandson, and he says to him, "There's a fight going on inside me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between 2 wolves. One is evil, he is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, self-doubt, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandfather says to his grandson, "The same fight is going on inside you and in every other person too." The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then he asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" Grandfather replied by saying, "The one you feed." So tonight I use that proverb because Claire, Taylor, and Sam, they represent the good wolf. I'm very proud of what they've done, and I know they're just getting started. I really can't wait to see what you guys do next. So tonight, it's my great honor to present you with this Law Enforcement Service Award, and you bring great credit upon yourselves in the city of Janesville. Thank you. Sorry, Chief. Next, I get the pleasure of introducing Lieutenant Todd Kleisner, who will be presenting the Business Award.
Good evening. Darren Ott, would you please step forward? So I'm presenting the first of 2 law enforcement service awards for businesses. This award may be given to a business that goes above and beyond what is expected of any business in their commitment and dedication to the city of Janesville, the Janesville Police Department, and the law enforcement community as a whole. R&D Laser Processing assisted the JPD in producing custom equipment and parts for our squads that were not available through other vendors. Owner Darren Ott was a pleasure to work with, and I had worked with him previously back in 2009 on a similar project. Darren completed a CAD drawing first, and then had his crew create parts in a timely and professional fashion. The quality and workmanship was very impressive. It was also very convenient to have a local Janesville company help us out. Owner Darren Ott donated his time, material, and expertise to assist the police department as a way to thank the department for what we do for the community. Darren, congratulations. And the next award will be presented by Officer Stubedick.
Sorry, back. Two, I got 2. This one will definitely be quicker. Tonight I get to present an award to Richie's Auto Repair and Tow Services. Rich here. I saw his truck out there. There he is. All right, so I'll keep it short, so I'll start as Rich is walking up here. So this last year at our range, in addition to the other things I do at the police department, I run our range, and we hosted a lot of training from nationally recognized trainers. And as part of that, one class was focused on vehicle contacts and officer contacts around the car, and increasing officer survivability, because that's the most dangerous encounter that most officers have. So Sean Yelk and I reached out to Rich, and he was generous enough to get us 17 cars so we could shoot them up and have all kinds of fun, do cool stuff. He didn't just get the cars, he brought them to our range, put them wherever I wanted them, came down on the day of the class, moved them around for the instructor. He also left his personal skid loader there for a couple weeks with a bunch of cops. We only let Sean drive it because he was the most responsible, and Sergeant Perkins. But it helped us out so that way we didn't tear up the range. So without Rich's generous donation and his commitment to the department for a long time now, we wouldn't be able to host this training, and that donation is it's going to have a direct correlation to increasing our officers' survival. So thank you, Rich. We appreciate it. All right, next we'll have Sergeant Mark Ratzlaff.
If I could have Jeff Winiarski and Dan Schoonover come up front. I know they're dreading this too. I work with these two every day, and you would think it would be me up here getting an award, but tonight it's their turn. Seriously, they're getting the award for problem-oriented policing. They are lead investigators on the human trafficking. In 2017, Officer Winiarski started an investigation that started out as a drug investigation. As he continued to work on it, he discovered there was a connection to some human trafficking. He could have left it alone at the drug trafficking stage, but he kept working on it. He identified several victims, one being a minor. And he put together probably the first case for the Janesville Police Department and Rock County that's going to be prosecuted for human trafficking. Along with Dan Schoonover, Jeff Winiarski continues to work these cases. They work together, and Dan was instrumental on writing an MOU to put together for multiple agencies, disciplinary agencies in the county that are stakeholders in human trafficking. Through the MOU, it allows them to share information legally to provide the best services to those who are victims of human trafficking. They continue to attend meetings and continue to push this forward. Officer Schoonover was asked by the Sheriff's Department to assist on a human trafficking case they had. His contribution to that investigation. He received compliments from the Sheriff's Department for his assistance with that. That victim is currently moved out of state, is back with family, and her young daughter is also in a much better place. She was staying with the mother in a home that was possibly being used for human trafficking. Through their efforts, they have built a reputation with victims that someone cares for them. They continue to provide and put together groups to provide resources for the victims themselves and their children. The correlation between the human trafficking and drug addiction is present. And so in addition to the human trafficking resources that they put together and provide to these victims, they're also getting them assistance with their drug addiction to get them out of this lifestyle. So beyond just the prosecution side of this, they're also looking at the resources as far as helping them get out of the lifestyle and prevention of children getting into this. They continue to make contacts with children that are at high risk of becoming human trafficking victims, and they continue to stay in contact with them and provide resources to them as well to prevent that from happening. Just recently, in fact, last night, I believe you guys got back from a vacation, training in Kentucky. They were sent down there to get special skills in interviewing children who are victims of human trafficking. On their off time, I also have videos of them axe throwing, and they're actually surprisingly very good. That's a skill we didn't send them there for, but I guess we got something out of it that we didn't expect. Congratulations, you guys. Next, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Aagaard.
Good evening, my name is Lieutenant Chuck Aagaard, and I'm going to be presenting both the meritorious and exemplary service citations to a group of officers. So I'm going to call them up, and while I do that, I'll explain what the citations are. So I need Sergeants Pearson and Holford, and Officers Gran, Stubendick, Carpenter, Foster, Wassmiller, and Severson. So the first one is the Meritorious Service Citation. This award is given to any officer who performs an act of heroism or bravery which is laudable or extraordinary. This award will consist of a plaque and a two-colored section blue and white merit bar to be worn on the uniform. I will also be issuing the Exemplary Service Citation to Officer Chad Woodman, who could not be here tonight. The Exemplary Service Citation is an award given to any officer who performs an act or service which exemplifies the highest standard of the police profession and is beyond the normal expectations of duty. The award will consist of a plaque and a solid blue-colored merit bar to be worn on the uniform. It is said that police officers put their lives in danger every day for people that they have never met. The incident I am about to tell you about certainly proves that to be true. In 2016, President George Bush attended the funeral of 5 Dallas police officers who lost their lives protecting their community. He most aptly said, "Most of us imagine, if the moment called for, that we would risk our lives to protect a spouse or a child. Those wearing the uniform assume that risk for the safety of strangers. They and their families share the unspoken knowledge that each new day can bring new dangers." So on April 3rd, 2018, officers from the Janesville Police Department responded to a report of shots fired at 1807 South Osborne on the city's south side. Upon arrival, they set up a perimeter and attempted to make contact with the residents. A male subject walked outside and told officers that his sister and her boyfriend were inside, that they had an argument, and that he heard a gunshot prior to fleeing the home. A short while later, a female came to the door. She was covered in blood and appeared to have been shot multiple times. She collapsed at the front door and could not walk over to the officers. Knowing that the female needed immediate medical attention, a team was formed to rescue her. She was later identified as Lori Rausch. The team was made up of Sergeants Pearson and Holford, Officers Gran, Stubendick, Carpenter, Foster, Wassmiller, and Severson. Now you have to understand the officers entered an area that they believed an armed gunman had control of. They formulated a plan, and while some provided covers, other officers carried Lori to a position of safety. One officer applied a tourniquet to stop the bleeding to her legs, and this same group made a safe path for the emergency medical team to move in and render aid. The group acted quickly, relying on their training. They acted selflessly to save Lori's life that day. They risked their lives for someone they had never met. But the story doesn't end there. As part of his negotiator role, Officer Chad Woodman was gathering intelligence. He obtained a cell phone number from Lori's daughter, Brenda, and began exchanging text messages with that telephone. After communicating with whoever had possession of the phone at the time, which turned out to be her disabled daughter, he felt that something wasn't right. He trusted his instincts and located Brenda Roche's address. He and another officer went to 1738 South Osborne and eventually made entry inside. There they found Brenda Rausch suffering from a life-threatening head injury. They later learned Lori's boyfriend had attacked Brenda after he had shot Lori. Officer Woodman summoned medics to the scene and most certainly saved Brenda's life that day, someone he had never met. So if you would, please join me in congratulating this group of officers for all they did that day.
Thanks, Chuck. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present the Civilian Employee of the Year Award. What we do for this award is we accept nominations that are submitted to our accommodation committee. The committee reviews the nominations and chooses a winner of this award. The civilian employee that is selected represents the department for 1 year as the Civilian Employee of the Year. So this year's Civilian Employee of the Year is Lori Graf. Lori, can you come on up? There she is. Lori was nominated by her supervisor, Leslie Vaughn. Lori has been employed with the Janesville Police Department for 11 years. During that time, Lori has proved herself very dependable and a hardworking employee. Lori arrives at work each day in a positive mood and rarely misses work for any unplanned absences. In 2018 proved to be an especially difficult year for the records section. The section had been short one clerk since June, followed by a resignation in October and a retirement in December. This left the records section missing 1/3 of its 9 full-time employees over the holiday season, which were usually short anyway. Lori worked numerous shifts during that time alone without complaint. Meanwhile,
there were also 2 changes in supervision of the records section during 2018. To say 2018 was a year of great transition for the records section is an understatement. In addition to the challenges presented by staff transitions in 2018, Lori took over the demanding task of handling open records requests. The completion of these requests can be very taxing depending on the length and complexity of the requested report. Great attention to detail and judgment making is required to ensure certain information is redacted from these requests and reports. In addition, the volume of these requests itself can be quite daunting. Lori completed approximately 1,000 records requests during 2018, in addition to typing reports. Open records releases and the transparency given to the public through such requests are directly tied to the mission of the Janesville Police Department. As such, Lori is quite deserving of receiving this award. Her dedication and work product is greatly appreciated and respected. Congratulations, Lori. And Chief Moore will be presenting the next award.
If I could have Lieutenant Tim Hiers come up here. The award that I am going to present is the Award of Excellence, and this is for the supervisor whose service and performance has been noteworthy and a significant contribution to the police department. Lieutenant Tim Hiers has been employed with the Janesville Police Department since 1989. He has served as the identification officer, which is our version of CSI. He has been the records section supervisor, patrol sergeant, detective division commander, and finally patrol shift commander. There isn't much he hasn't done. Lieutenant Hiers has guided the police department through many important initiatives. He saw us through to buy our tasers. You'll see all the officers have the yellow tasers on their persons, and Tim saw that project through. Body cameras. We've had body cameras for about a decade, and Tim finally got us in the right place with the Axion body cameras, and we've got a very efficient system for the body camera video that all of us get to see on TV at times and protects our officers. A few years ago, I asked Tim to look throughout the nation to find the best use of force training that we could find. The de-escalation. We believe that if we can de-escalate circumstances, stay out of crisis circumstances, it's safer for our citizens, it's safer for our officers. So Tim was tasked to go out and find that, and he found what I think is a very good model. It is the ICAT, we call it, Integrating Communications, Assessment, and Tactics. Tim and he built a team, went down to New Orleans for a number of days, and through the Police Executive Research Forum was taught about ICAT. But Lieutenant Hiers didn't stop there. He came back and he built a 3-year plan for the Janesville Police Department and all of our officers, so we have that skill set and we can keep everybody safe. Lieutenant Hiers' 3-year plan was noted nationally by PERF, and many other departments around the nation have followed the plan that Tim has put together. He also conducts or oversees the background investigations for our officers. You don't see Janesville police officers getting in trouble very often. And the reason is because we look at them very closely. We do about a 40-hour background check on every officer that gets hired. We know them very, very well before we place that badge on their chest. And Tim oversees all of those background investigations. It's a lot of work. In fact, he just helped Edgerton Police Department with their backgrounds for chief and has made all of our departments much stronger. Lieutenant Hiers also oversees the field training program. He has 9 field training officers out in the field, and he oversees that to see that our officers are trained. We provide them with the best equipment, the best training, so we can keep our officers safe. So Lieutenant Hiers does all this stuff, and he still runs a shift. He has the day shift with 3 sergeants and 20 officers. So he's a very, very busy guy. We've depended on him a lot. And I'm going to ask for all of your help. See, Tim thinks he's going to retire in November. And I'm hoping if maybe all of us corner him here a little bit tonight and urge him not to, we can keep him around for a little bit longer. So, Tim, we really appreciate all your help. Thank you. Sergeant Dahman.
Good evening. I am honored to present the 2018 Police Officer of the Year Award. Officer Matt Zimborski, it's time to come up here. To be considered for the award, an officer needs to be nominated by a fellow officer or supervisor or received a commendation from the police department throughout the year. The nominations and the commendations are reviewed by the commendation committee, and the officer is selected after the review. Officer Zimborski has been employed by the Janesville Police Department for 3 years after working for the Town of Beloit Police Department. He was nominated because of his great work ethic, attitude, and desire to improve not only himself, but others. Officer Zimborski is currently assigned to C-Shift Patrol. He is one of the most proactive officers in the department. He was a leader in nearly every C-Shift statistical category and led the department with 53 OWI arrests. As evidenced by the numbers, he is always busy doing something. Officer Zimborski had a goal last year to go to school to be a drug recognition expert, also known as a DRE. We currently, with him, we only have 3 within the department. To become a DRE, he had to attend several weeks of intense training. After being certified as a DRE in the spring of 2018, Officer Zimborski excelled. He not only applied his training on patrol, as evidenced by the number of OWI arrests, but began passing his knowledge on to other officers. He gives legal updates and briefing when they come up, and has started conducting on-shift training with other officers. He recently received an award from the state of Wisconsin for being in the top 10 DREs in the state for the number of evaluations conducted in 2018. Officer Zimborski is also a member of the high-risk offender team. He is a valued member of that team, as he is always willing to assist. He not only does background checks on subjects that may fit the criteria for the team, but uses the knowledge he gains from those checks on patrol to assist him and other officers during investigations. Last fall, Janesville was experiencing an increased amount of crime from a local gang. Officer Zimborski went above and beyond for the high-risk offender team, gathering and passing on information during briefing to other officers regarding that gang. While doing background checks on members, he came across an unsolved battery complaint. After reading the report, he felt he could possibly identify the suspect. After some detailed work, he was able to identify the suspect, make an arrest, which resulted in a conviction. In November 2018, there was a shooting in the downtown parking ramp involving members of that same gang. There weren't any suspects at the time, but Officer Zimborski took it upon himself to work the case. He was able to develop a suspect and make an arrest. There was also another shooting on the south side that he wasn't initially involved with, but he also took that upon himself to assist and gather information, which helped bring the incident to a conclusion with the arrests and federal prosecution of the suspects. Officer Zimborski represents the Janesville Police Department well and supports the mission of the Janesville Police Department. He is a pleasure to work with and supervise. He has a positive attitude that is infectious and a work ethic that is unmatched and deserves to be commended. For all those reasons, Officer Zimborski was selected as the 2018 Police Officer of the Year. I introduce Chief Moore for closing comments.
On behalf of the Janesville Police Department, I'd like to offer our thanks to everyone that is joining us here tonight. Special thanks go out to our spouses, significant others, and family members that support our officers and our staff. You are the ones that keep our families together when our employees are working weekends, holidays, and varying shifts. I hope during these awards you could hear a theme of empathy and caring. I can't order these officers to offer this service. It comes from the heart and speaks to their character. An author by the name of Michael Josephson wrote on a topic of what will matter. I want to share with you just a little bit of his writing. What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, or sacrifice that enriched, empowered, or encouraged others to emulate your example. You see, living a life of matter doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but it's a matter of choice. The people that have been commended here this evening are people that have made that choice. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a moment this evening to congratulate the award recipients and enjoy our time together here with family and friends. Thank you, everybody.